Welcome back to the poker vlogs, as this is going to be vlog number 2. This session took place on September 27th and we get into a lot of crazy hands. We're going back to Fortune Poker where we played in the 1-3 games, and I'm super excited to show you guys. Thank you guys so much for showing me so much support on the last video. If we can go ahead and smash the like button on this one, I've always wanted to say that, I would super appreciate it. Let's get right into the hands.
All right, let's get this session started. We're kicking it off with King, Queen, offsuit from the hijack position. There's one limp to me, and I'm going to go ahead and raise to $10. The limper is in the under the gun position, and he's going to go ahead and call, and we're going to go heads up to a flop, which comes 5-2-4 rainbow. He checks it to me, and I'm going to go ahead and bet $8. He now sits there for a few seconds and then raises me to 20. I'm not going to do anything crazy. This is only my second orbit, and he's got a massive stack at the table. I'm not going to get too sticky, and I'm just going to fold. These next few hands, I tried to see a few flops, but ended up whiffing, so the stack took a small hit. I also tried to see a flop with King 10 of clubs, and I missed as well. On to the next noteworthy hand. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback in the comments below, as I'm not sure if I played this one right. We got 8-7 of spades in the small blind. Under the gun is going to go ahead and raise it up to 10. The button's going to call, I'm going to call, and the big blind's going to fold. We're going 3 ways to a flop with ace, 8-6 with 1 spade. Under the gun is going to continue for 15. I'm going to go ahead and call with my pair, backdoor straight draw, and backdoor flush draw. And the big blind folds. We're going to go heads up to a turn, which is probably the best card in the deck, being the 9 of spades. Oh baby, this turn card gives us an open-ended straight flush draw with the high hand. As long as you hold for 30 minutes, get $500. Under the gun is going to keep the pressure going and continue to bet for 30. I really wasn't sure what I should do in this situation. I was talking to the player a little bit earlier, and he had told me that he's only played for 2 weeks. Especially having position on him, the standard play would be to raise, as I had this board completely locked up. However, I didn't want to raise and have him fold whatever 2 cards he possibly had and missed out on the high hand. As well, if he was on some type of draw, I had most of them covered, as well as I did have a pair, so I did elect on just a call. The dealer's going to collect the chips, and we're going to go straight to a river, which is the 6 of hearts. He's going to snap check it on over to me, and I'm just going to give up and tell him I have an 8. He's going to flip over ace-5 offsuit and take it down. Now seeing his hand, I definitely should have raised it on the turn, as he probably would have checked down most rivers. So I know I definitely made that mistake here. So please let me know if you guys would have done the same as I did and just called, or if you should have just raised it and done the traditional standard play instead of trying to play for the high hand. After adding on for 100, we're looking down from the big blind. We got pocket 9s. It's going to fold all the way to the button, who's going to raise it to 10, and we're going to go ahead and call. Going to a flop, heads up, it comes king, king, deuce with 2 clubs. I'm going to go ahead and lead out for 8, as there's a lot of bad cards that I don't want to see on the turn, and I wanted to protect my hand. The button's going to snap fold, and I'm going to take this one down. Very happy to win one, especially after that last hand. Shoutouts to Jello from Next Gen Poker, who calls this the Scottie Pippen. I tried to see a flop with these bad boys, but ended up whiffing, so we lost another 10. Coming in hot with pocket jacks, we got the J's. That's right, the Jeremy Josephs. I'm in under the gun +1, and I'm going to go ahead and raise to $10, where only the big blind is going to call. We're going heads up to a flop, which comes pretty dang good, especially coming back from some of those bunk hands. It comes Jack 10-8 rainbow. We flop top set on a relatively wet and draw heavy board. He checks it to me, and I'm going to go ahead and check back for deception. The turn comes a 10 of diamonds, and he bets 10, and I'm just going to go ahead and call to let him hang himself. The river comes a 7 of diamonds, and he's going to go ahead and slow down and check it on over to me. I size up to 30, as I know I definitely missed some value on either the flop or the turn, where he's going to go ahead and think about it for a little bit and ultimately make a fold. I was a little bit disappointed in myself in this hand, as I felt like I could have gotten a little bit more value, but I haven't had a monster like this in quite a while, so I got a little bit frantic and tried to slow play it when I probably should have played it pretty standard. That's alright, as a lot of people in the community are losing with this hand. We're going to take a pot home with the pocket J's. This next hand is coming from the small blind, with a very pretty looking one being ace-9 of diamonds. Under the gun limps, I complete, and the big blind's going to check. I'm still trying to figure out my groove, as ace rag, I'm going to fold unless it's suited, and I'm going to call most raises, where ace-10 and above, I'm going to go ahead and raise. Let me know in the comments what you guys do, as I'm still trying to figure out my raising range. We're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes ace-5-3 rainbow. I'm going to go ahead and check. The big blind checks, and the under the gun bets 10. Looking like he's trying to steal this pot, I'm going to go ahead and call. The big blind's going to fold, and we're going to go heads up to a turn, which is the 2 of diamonds. Any 4 now makes a straight, and I'm going to check it on over to him where he snap checks it back. I definitely think I'm good here no matter what the river is, even though it's the queen of hearts. I'm still going to go ahead and bet 30. I wanted to bet the pot to make it look like I was trying to steal it, but he goes ahead and snap folds anyway, and we're going to go ahead and take down this pot. I feel like I definitely missed out on a little bit of value here, so let me know how you guys would have played this hand in the comments below. I'm still a learning boy, even though I just graduated from college. I know I'm really trying my best to become a profitable player. Thank you for the feedback so far. Let's get on to the next hand. In the big blind now, looking down at pocket tens. With 4 limps to me, I'm going to go ahead and raise to $20 with that many limpers. I'm definitely going to go ahead and size up. I guess raising doesn't really show strength anymore these days, as under the gun, the low jack, the hijack, and the button are all going to call. What in the world do these guys have as we're going 5 ways to a flop? Which comes Jack, Jack, 7 with 2 diamonds and already $101 in the pot. I'm going to go ahead and try to protect my hand by putting out a small blocker bet. I bet into 4 other players $20. I'm making this bet because I want to protect my hand against any sort of draw or underpair. I'm also protecting my hand from any overcards being a queen, king, or ace. Only the under the gun +1 is going to make the call, and we're going to go heads up to a turn, which is the 9 of spades. This card is going to give me a little bit more equity as I now have a gut shot to the straight, so I'm going to go ahead and check it on over to him. He snap checks it back, which makes me think he's on some type of draw, because if he had a jack in his hand, I would think he'd be wanting to get more value on the turn. The river now comes the queen of hearts, and I definitely thought I was good here, as I thought most jacks would definitely be betting on the turn, especially with that wet of a board. So I'm going to go ahead and bet $50 here on the river. He then says the worst thing I can possibly think of. He jams it right in my face for $120 effective. I'm now thinking back to what he could possibly have. I try to really think, would he have a jack, especially after checking back on the turn, or would he have some sort of straight here? I was just sitting there thinking, and I just didn't feel like my tens were that good. I know he snap jammed it on me, and it's only for just a little bit more. It was about $70 total, but I reluctantly make the fold. I don't know if that was the right play until he flips over Jack Queen offsuit for the rivered boat. So he ended up having a jack, and there wasn't really much I can do other than try to lose the minimum here, which I think I did. I maybe could have just texted to him on the river, but I didn't know if I was going to call there for about $110, $120 more. So all I can really do is fold here and say, yeah. After adding on for another 100, we're looking down in the small blind yet again at pocket J's. It folds to me, and I'm going to go ahead and raise it to 10, and the big blind snap folds, so didn't make any money on this one, but still going to include it. I'm still experimenting with what hands I want to add into the vlog. As of now, with this vlog and the last one that I made, I'm including every little hand where I tried to see a flop. Whether it's with pocket twos, jack nine suited, anything in between, whatever, I think I want to include, as I want to try to be as transparent as possible with you guys with every hand. Let me know below if you guys want to see just the interesting hands, or if you also want to see what happens when I get a premium like jacks and I raise and everyone kind of just folds. So let me know in the comments, as that would be super appreciated, because I'm not sure if you guys would want to see these hands or not. Coming in hot in the best position, we got the second best hand. We got pocket kings on the button with a 1 limp to us. We're going to go ahead and raise to $12 with a small blind, and under the gun are going to call. We're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes 8, 8, 10, 2 clubs. The small blind checks, and the under the gun position checks as well, and I'm going to go ahead and continue for 12 to protect my hand on such a wet and draw heavy board. Both players are going to make the call, and we're still going 3 ways to a turn, which comes the 3 of clubs. Both players are going to check it on over to me, and with the obvious front door flush getting there, I am not trying to overplay my kings here, especially when both of them are going to call. They could easily have the flush here, and they're trying to trap, so I'm just going to check it back. The river now comes the queen of clubs, and I'm completely checked out of this hand, and I'm just going to give up when it's checked on over to me. Listen to what happens next.
You're good.
I don't have a club.
You're the last better. Like kings. Kings are no show with the
Both players were extremely reluctant to show, where the small blind just mucks his cards, and eventually under the gun is where he shows the queen 10 for a rivered better 2 pair than what he had on the flop. It seems as if we got a pretty bad run out with the turn and river being both clubs. It seems like we could have gotten a lot more value from under the gun since we had a better 2 pair the whole time. I'm still glad to take this pot down, as we're still trying to get a little bit out of the hole from early on in the session. Next up, we got a real spicy one for you guys with 5-4 hearts in the under the gun position. Some of you guys commented in the last video that I should try to play a lot more marginal hands, so I'm definitely going to go ahead and give it a shot here with this. After I limp, the button raises it to 15 and the small blind's going to call. I'm going to go ahead and try to see a flop, especially with the small blind completing, as it's going to give me better pot odds, as well as I want to get tangled with this player since he's still very new at the game. I make the call for 12 more, and we're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes 8-5-4 rainbow. When the small blind checks it to me, I'm going to go ahead and check it on over to the pre-flop raiser, as I'm hoping to check raise. He takes the bait and bets 25, and also the small blind is going to go ahead and call. We got him exactly right where we want to. Now we just need to figure out how much to raise it by. In a spot like this, I'm definitely going to choose a sizing of 4 times the original bet of the $25 because the small blind called as well. If the small blind wouldn't have called, I only would be raising by 3 times, which would be 75. But here, I'm going to choose a sizing of 100. The button almost instantly gets out of the way, and the small blind is sitting there in agony, wondering if he should make the call or not, just humming and hawing, and I absolutely want him to call, as I know I have him completely dominated. After a little while, all he can really do is fold and say,
Thank you.
it wasn't the exact outcome we were looking for, as I definitely knew I had to be raising on this flop, as there was a lot of bad turn cards that can come out, and I was very glad that I played this hand how I did. However, I did wish, of course, that the small blind would jam with whatever overcard holdings that it seemed like he had or called, but at least I was able to make a decent amount from this pot right here. These next couple of hands, I tried to see another few flops, but ended up missing again. Looking down from the under the gun +1 position, we have 8-7 of hearts. I'm going to go ahead and raise it up to 10. Under the gun +2, the hijack, and the cutoff are all going to call, and we're going to go 4 ways to a flop, which comes queen 6-4, 2 hearts. I'm going to make a small bet here to hopefully thin out the field, as I have a gut shot to the straight and 4 to the flush. However, the under the gun +2 now raises it to 25. The hijack and the cutoff are going to get out of the way, and I'm just going to make the call as I have way too much going on. Going heads up to a turn, it comes the queen of diamonds, and I'm going to check it on over to him, and he's going to instantly bet $20. To many of you guys, this looks like a snap call, as he's giving me such a good price, but I think I know I'm going to be beat here a lot of the time. This is definitely player dependent, as I've been sitting here at the table for a little while, and he really only was playing and betting made hands as well as really crazy draws, and it seems like he's kind of just betting for value and trying to string me along. An example of this was a little bit earlier. Him and another player both flopped a set, and he ended up turning quads for the high hand, and they ended up getting it all in, but that was the only hand I've really only seen him play and or bet within the last hour or hour and a half here at the table. So I'm definitely just going to go ahead and make the hard fold, even though it looked like I had such good equity on this board. The only thing I could really do now was tell him.
Nice bet.
All right, I got an absolute crazy one for you guys, so please buckle in your seatbelts. It's about to get wild. Coming from the small blind, I'm only getting fed pocket jacks. Ooh, baby, pocket J's here, coming in hot. Under the gun limps, and it's going to fold to me, where I'm going to go ahead and
Raise.
to $15. I guess this wasn't enough because the big blind immediately re-raises me to 43. Under the gun is going to snap fold, and I'm going to go ahead and think about what I could do here, so I start talking to him.
Got it out for me, man, don't you?
He could be 3-betting me with a lot of different hands, such as ace king, ace queen, ace jack, even though I double blocked that, ace 10, pocket 10s, or jacks himself, which probably not, as there's only one combo of that, queens, kings, or aces, and we are not hoping to see those. After thinking about it for a little while, I'm just going to go ahead and play this the real standard way and not play scared money. I'm going to repop them all the way up to $115. It's a little bit of a long clip, but please listen in. I couldn't believe it.
115.
He tells me, you have pocket aces, man, and then folds his hand face up so the table can see, and he's got pocket kings. I was absolutely crushed, and I cannot believe that he folded those and did not re-raise or at least make the call. I, of course, had to show my hand, and here was the table's reaction. Very glad to have taken this pot uncontested without having to see a flop. Especially when it's premium over premium. We're now 4 for 4 with jacks tonight. This is what he told me right after the hand.
Maybe you save me. I call it jack comes.
Exactly. You never know.
Sometimes happens.
Sometimes it does happen. I'm just glad to be on the winning side this time. Next up, and under the gun, we got queen jack of diamonds. I'm going to raise it up to 10, and only the small blind's going to call. We're going heads up to a flop, which comes ace 7-3, 2 diamonds. He's going to check it on over to me, and I'm going to continue to bet for half pot, as I have the second nut flush draw as well as the backdoor straight draw. He's going to go ahead and make the call, and the turn comes the 9 of diamonds. He's going to check it to me again, and even though we hit our flush, I'm just going to try to see if I can get any sort of value out of him, and I'm going to continue for 12. He makes the call, and we're going to go to a river, which is the 5 of hearts. He checks it over to me for a third time, and I'm still going to go ahead and continue betting. This time I'm going to size up a little bit as I feel like a lot of aces are going to call, any 2 pair, any sort of trips now, and we're just going to hopefully get paid here. So I'm going to go ahead and bet $40. He snap calls, and I'm going to flip over my cards and show him the queen high flush as he's going to go ahead and muck his and say,
Ready to flush.
sounds like it was a flush over flush scenario. I'm glad I was able to get 3 streets of value from this hand. All right, we got another crazy one for you guys as it starts off with the hijack going all in for about 35. We're looking down from the button. That's right, again with pocket jacks. It folds to me, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to isolate this player. So I'm going to pop it up to 85 just so I can get folds out of everybody else and just go heads up to a flop. Worst comes to worst, I am going to be flipping, and I could only lose up to the match the stack of the 40 that he jammed in with. Here's how it went down. Raise.
Protection. Thank you.
85.
Hope I can suck out on those aces. What you got?
Not aces.
You have aces.
I don't have aces. I can prove it. I got 2 J's.
Oh,
We basically had a coin flip at that point, but just glad to take it down. We are now 5 for 5 with pocket jacks today. Only 2 hands later, we're looking down from the hijack with king jack of clubs. Under the gun limps to me, and I'm going to go ahead and raise it up to 10. The big blind and under the gun are going to call, and we're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 6 4 2 hearts. It checks to me where I'm going to go ahead and continue for 10, where the big blind's going to call and under the gun is going to fold. We're going heads up to a turn, which is the 2 of spades. The big blind checks it to me, where I'm going to check it back for pot control. Looking back, I probably should have bet it now that there's 2 flush draws on board. The river comes the 7 of clubs, and he ends up betting for $10. For such a cheap price, I'm going to go ahead and make the call, as really only 3-5 or 5-8's going to get there for the straight, so I really think I'll be good here. He ends up flipping over queen 4 of clubs, and I got him beat. We'll be scooping up a nice $71 pot. Swooping into this next hand, we're looking down from the low jack at king queen offsuit. It folds to me, and I'm going to go ahead and raise it to $10. The small blind's going to call, and the big blind is going to jam it for $70. This is the same player I got it all in with my jacks against his ace king, and I'm just going to snap fold it. I'm glad I made the fold since it seemed like I was beat, because the very next hand he was able to make the same type of all-in raise with a total stack of about $80 to $85, and he flipped over pocket aces. It seemed like he really was only doing this with premiums. With the second last hand of the session, it starts off with the low jack and the button limping, the small blind completes, and I'm going to go ahead and look down at 9-7 of spades. I'm going to go ahead and check as well, and we're going to go 4 ways to a flop, which comes 4-3-2 2 spades. The small blind checks on over to me, and let me know what you guys are doing in this situation, as I actually checked it back and it checks around. The turn now comes the 7 of hearts, and the small blind checks again, and I'm going to go ahead and bet 5. I feel like I've been playing this hand completely wrong, as I should have at least bet on the flop, and now that I have the whole board locked up on the turn, I should definitely be sizing up here. I really need some help with this hand. I really know I just played it wrong. The small blind goes ahead and makes the call, and we're going heads up to a river, which comes the ace of hearts. He now bets it for 10 and starts laughing as he does so. I wasn't really sure what this meant, but I felt like I was good here, even though I didn't really notice that there was 4 to a straight on board. I definitely was getting tired, and this was towards the end of my session. I know I played this bad, but I really want to be transparent with these vlogs that I'm making and show that I'm going to make a lot of mistakes trying to learn the game. It was only $10, and I thought I was going to be good here anyway, so I went ahead and... It was the wrong call as he flipped over 5-8 of clubs. The only thing after that I could tell him was... Nice hand. All right, we got the last hand of the night coming in hot on the button. Yet again, the best position with the second best hand, pocket kings. It's raining pocket pairs for me out here. The cutoff limps, and I'm going to go ahead and...
raise to 15.
I went ahead and raised it to 15, and everyone one by one made the fold. Seems like it's my time to head out. Let's go ahead and rack up and head home. Just got out of there. I think I played pretty well overall. In the very beginning, I still kind of get some jitters, especially while recording, of getting real frazzled, trying to remember hands and everything. So I know I didn't play everything perfectly, but I think overall I played relatively well. I was in for 500 and out for 444. So we took a small loss today, but I think I was put in some really weird spots. I think I played my best hands pretty well overall, and great session. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll have another one out really soon.